what's on my mind. Sip on fine wine, listen to my thoughts, unfiltered, relax, recline. Today we got some time, how nice of you to join. Listen to my thoughts, true facts you'll find. God gave me brain, what a tool, gotta use it. Careful of your thoughts, become words at any moment. If you have been sleeping, it's for sure to wake you up. Coming with the topics, got them thinking out the box. Every second, minute, hour, all them thoughts accumulating. Will not back down like no coward, set the tone and operate it. Why they lack communication, cause they underestimated. Humans do be complicated, but our groove is stimulating. Power of the tongue.
Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Thoughts. My name is Cedric and this is my wife Deidra.
Hello.
And we're back with another episode. Today we actually want to talk about growing up in the inner city and the things that we experience living in those communities, and some of the things that we can do to probably make it a little bit better. I know that a lot of times the struggles with the inner cities are things that's fixable, but I think that, obviously we have to come to the table and have a hard discussion about a lot of things that we can do to improve. And so we definitely want to talk about growing up, our experiences there, and what did we do, obviously, to get out of it, and some of the things that we can do to, give back. Some of the things that people can do to make it a better experience than what it was. And so with that being said, I'm going to let Deidra jump it off and share with us her experiences growing up in the inner city. And,
I was going to say, for the most part, we grew up in the cities. We moved around a lot. So we were suburbs sometimes, but for the most part, we were in the cities. I just want to first say that not all cities get a bad rap, I feel like, because even though I feel like, I grew up in St. Paul, I didn't live in the hood of St. Paul. I didn't feel like I was raised in this gun zone area where it was rampant with hookers and drug addicts, and I didn't see any of that.
St. Paul is maybe a suburb of Minneapolis.
St. Paul is not a suburb. It's very diverse. I felt like I very much grew up in the inner city, but I just didn't feel like my experience in the inner city was as what you see on TV, what they depict. You just, people are shooting and you just walking by somebody else getting shot, and you just, that just wasn't my experience growing up. I never felt like where I grew up in St. Paul, I was scared to go out of the house because I didn't know if I was going to make it back home. I guess for me, wasn't raised in the hood. I was just raised in the city.
Okay. So, and you saying your experience was basically very mild.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I was scared to go anywhere in St. Paul. I don't know if it's the case now because I've been so far removed from St. Paul, but even when I go to St. Paul, I'm not I'm not getting out of the car. Now, there's some places in Minneapolis I feel that way, but I'm not a Minneapolis person.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, but don't you think Minneapolis is going to say the same thing about St. Paul?
No.
Oh.
I don't feel like there's any really scary parts of St. Paul. There might be some parts where there might be more drug activity or something like that, but there's no place in St. Paul that I'd be I'm not going over there.
No, okay. That's fair enough. So would you say that, because I guess your experience of being in the inner city is probably really different than the majority.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wasn't in the gun streets or whatever, but the gun zone. It was very mild and pleasant.
Oh, okay. So, you had obviously an opposite experience from most.
When I was younger, we had lived in Minneapolis for a little while, and I told you about that story where I was sitting outside with my cousin. We were just minding our business, and this dude was running down the street shooting at a dude riding a bike. And I'm like, this is the most craziest thing I've ever seen. Because, first of all, you're running, and he's on a bike. Well, anyways, but yeah, that was probably the most extreme that I've ever seen in my life. But I was a very small kid. I don't even remember, probably 10, maybe 9, I don't know. But
well, you don't think that was bizarre?
I just said it was absolutely bizarre, but I that was about the extent of my life. It's in the inner city. Otherwise, like I said, I didn't have a bad experience. I love the cities.
Well, okay, so I guess my experience was very different.
Yeah.
Growing up in Milwaukee is this there's this different breed of people there. I think one of the reasons why I left out of Milwaukee was due to the fact that the inner city was kind of getting out of hand, especially in for my age demographic. Now it's, you go back and it's kind of gone berserk. But, growing up there, I kind of had two different tales. I had the where we lived. We kind of lived in a medium middle class neighborhood, which most people worked and cut the grass and did normal stuff that normal people do. And then I had where my grandmother had her business, was was a night and day difference, because that was actually in the hood of hoods. And the mentality and the thought process was drastically different. I got a chance to see what it's like to grow up in both, and then I kind of had to make a decision on which side of the fence I wanted to play on too, because I could have easily got involved with the stuff that was going on, especially around my grandmother's store. And so with growing up, as a kid, we was always, I guess you just kind of get used to being in those areas where you don't even notice what the people are doing. And now I've gotten older and realized wow, looking back on it, it's crazy. Because you don't think about the times that the as when you was a kid and, you got the, I would say in the 20s and, 25-year-olds, how they were just hanging out all day and nobody worked. And I'm just like, come on, guys, y'all just, even me as I got older, I was realizing that, you got to work. You can't just be outside all day. And, thinking that, being outside all day and hanging out all day and drinking all day and smoking all day was something that most people have done over there. And, they didn't think nothing of it. They didn't think nothing was wrong. It wasn't no immediate need to go get a job. It was just, hey, we were hanging out, we partying, we cooling. And so seeing that stuff, it did kind of make me wonder, because when I used to go home, then you see people cutting grass and people leaving for work and doing things that pretty much everybody else should be doing. And so it just made me think in my mind, something is probably not right with this picture. And so the middle class neighborhood, taught me that, it's more than life than just what I see. Because, being in that one environment, I can't get upset when you see a lot of people that come from those environments and how they think, because if you only know that, then that's what you know.
Right.
And so it made my childhood interesting, because I got a chance to see it right off the top. And growing up in the areas where, a lot of gun violence, a lot of gang activity, and a lot of drugs. Because once the drugs got there, it kind of just really got out of hand. And so, it kind of taught me how to be street smart. It taught me how to pay attention to what people are doing. You kind of have a whole lot of trust issues growing up over there. Just because you just don't know what people are up to.
Right.
And so now, I look back on it, I go into those neighborhoods, and it just kind of you kind of get saddened, because it's you look and you see what was, and now you look at it and it's wow, just a lot of time passed by, and it just no real direction with those communities. And so, that's kind of some of the things that we want to share later on in this podcast. But, now that I've gotten removed from that whole environment, it kind of gives you a little bit more perspective. Yeah.
I'm sitting here as you're talking. I'm thinking about our kids being in that we live in a suburb of, would this be Minneapolis?
Yeah.
Okay, so we live in a suburb of Minneapolis. They don't even really go to the city. Otherwise, only I would say when we go to Milwaukee. And I'm just thinking about the experience of being in school. Because, I was very adamant about having our kids being in a school where they were not the only Black kids there, because I have been that person. And it just makes me think about the difference in the schools. I don't remember where I was going with this, but I was thinking about it when you were talking.
The school system.
The school systems and how, that's where I was going with it. Growing up in the inner city. This was one of the things I was thinking, okay. I was thinking that even though I would have preferred our kids to have been raised in a more diverse area, which is why I was very adamant about staying where we were living before versus where we are now, because I'm like, they need diversity. It's important. But I remember a conversation that you and I had about you growing up in school and us having a conversation about our kids, because Sed gets on our son a lot about how he dresses when he goes to school, because Sedi does not give a shit. He will put on pink and like purple with yellow. Like, he don't care. He said he is not somebody that cares about how he looks. He's like, listen, I'm going to school and that's all I care about. His pants could be too short. His shirt could be showing his belly and he don't see nothing wrong with it. He's like, listen, what's wrong with this? But we had a conversation about how when we were going, or how I was saying that I was thankful that he feels comfortable enough to just wear whatever the hell he wants to wear where he's going to school, because typically in suburbs, what you're wearing is not the value.
Cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
You know, everybody goes to school looking like probably like how he looks. So they probably do have their expensive things, but it was not the case like when you go to a inner city school where what you're wearing is the focal point of why they're going to school. And if you wasn't wearing the newest J's and all that other crap, you was getting talked about and you were probably getting bullied and all that other stuff. And you said that you saw that firsthand. That
was just to touch on that a little bit. You know, at that time it wasn't considered bullying because they didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
You know, they just let you go to school and get talked about.
Right.
But you know, but it's a double-edged sword with both. I feel like when I was in the inner city, it made me have a little bit more sense of pride in what I was wearing. Okay. Even though I know, you know, obviously it was all in vain for the most part. But it did make me pay attention to, like, how I was dressed. You know, did I comb my hair? Did I put deodorant on? Because, you know, you don't want to go to school and get roasted. Mm-hmm. You know, because obviously the kids there don't got nothing else better to do.
Right.
And so, but, you know, on the flip side, you go to, you know, more of the suburb schools and obviously don't nobody care. You know.
Well, I mean, I think they do in just in different ways. Like more probably like the car that you're driving. Because I feel like they do. I don't know. I didn't really go to high school in the suburbs, so I don't really remember what it was like. But
but you just made the point of saying about Sedi, like he can go to school with, you know, his stomach showing and, you know, his pants are flooded.
Yeah, he don't care.
But nobody is going to make fun of him.
No. Because they don't care.
But because everybody's probably in the same boat. You know, most of these suburb kids, you know, their parents don't really, you know, take a lot of time.
I feel like the focus is different on the people out here versus I feel like the focus on the suburbs is not on how you look. I feel like to them it's like, is my child getting the right education that he's supposed to be having?
Well, it's in sports.
But I'm just saying, but like I feel like the focus is different. I feel like in the inner city, it's all about how you look. Not even in school. It's just about how you look in general. Like you go to the club in the Minneapolis, and the ones that are, I hate to say this, but the ones that are more geared towards like black people, you can tell that we took a lot of time and effort to put this shit that we got on. Like it's probably like a $300 outfit. Your whole outfit probably costs like $300, and then you can't even buy nothing because you broke. But then meanwhile, you go to like the whiter clubs, they look like they just came from work. They didn't even change their outfit. Like they got on flip-flops but they could afford to be there, and that's the difference. The focal point is just completely different. Well, the mindset is different.
And I think that for us as blacks, you know, we have to start valuing things a little bit differently because we spend too much time trying to
focus on how we look. Yeah,
focus on how we look. And I think I said this in one of the previous podcasts, is that we want to look good, but we don't want to be good.
Right.
And so, you know, buying, you know, designer wear and all that stuff, you know, it just doesn't make any sense when you don't really have yourself together. Because why are you wearing the Gucci's and all these designers and you're catching the bus, or your bills are not paid, or whatever the case is? It just doesn't make any sense. Right. But you look good. Yeah, mm-hmm. you know, you come outside, you look like $1 million, but typically when you see people that have a lot of money, they don't really look like they have a lot of money.
They're not trying to prove to you they got anything because they already know they got it. Yeah. Right. And I think that's part of the problem is that I feel like the people in the inner city, they grew up not having anything. So that way when they were able to finally to get something, they wanted everybody to be able to see, like, look, I got this. Look at me. Yeah. And that mentality unfortunately, I feel like it's carried down because I've seen even like moms who care so much about how their kids be looking, and I'm like, but you live in an apartment, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with living in an apartment, but I'm just saying like the priorities are not right. Like you got these $1,000 shoes, but you're still renting, and that doesn't make any sense to me, and you don't see the problem.
Well, and so
And then they pass that mentality down to their kids, and then it just is like the perpetual cycle of being in the inner city.
right, and so obviously, we kind of talked about some of the struggles with the inner city, being that we have to change our focus because a lot of these parents, that's raising these kids, they obviously passing it on down, just like everybody else passing on things down to their kids, and so. What do you think is the main cause of it? So we can talk about the cause of the problem, then we can talk about the solution.
I think it's because the inner cities are typically poor. They don't have as much money as the the suburbs do. Like it's completely different. You could tell by the houses, the way the city looks. You drive down like North Minneapolis, it does not look like a well-taken Maple Grove city. Is because they have more money. Obviously, the people who live in Maple Grove probably make more money than the people who... I can't even say that because you just don't know.
Maple Grove is a better suburb, but okay. So, but the thing is that the problem is a lot bigger than that, because if we as a society wants to do better, it starts from the ground up. Mm-hmm. So you have to make those inner city, put more money into the inner city so the inner city can do better.
Right.
And then it just strengthens the whole economy.
And I think that it's like a win-win situation. Like if you give more people in the inner cities more jobs, they make more money. Maybe the crime rates go down. Maybe they're not hanging out in the streets no more because they have something to do. And instead of everybody looking at the people in the inner city like, oh, they ain't nothing. They don't want to work. They just want to sit around and drink and have babies and see us as or not see them or us, whatever, as actual people who are just trying to live and maintain, but they can't because they're in a situation that's not help. It was never designed to get them better.
Right. It's almost like what they call them stories, like a Cinderella story for all the people that made it out. Mm-hmm. It just the luck of the draw, because you could easily get caught up into a lifestyle of living there forever.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because when you think about it, when people make money, they move out of the city. They don't stay there. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at us. When I met you, we lived in Minneapolis. I lived in St. Paul. But as we started to make more money, we moved out of the city. And it's unfortunate that people feel like when I start making money, when I do better in life, I move from where I came from. And I get it in a sense because everybody wants better for themselves. But it would be nice, if some of the people were just like, I'm going to stay where I came in and make this better, one person at a time.
Yeah. But it just, some of the changes have something to do with us as the people. And then some of the changes, I guess a good percentage of the changes has something to do with obviously the politics, because politics does play a big role in a lot of this stuff. And if we get the right people in there, because all of this stuff with the police brutality and all this other stuff will be solved if people see everybody as the same. Mm-hmm. We all are humans first. A lot of people can't get that out of their mind, and this whole epidemic of race and stuff like that is all just made up because everybody's everybody's the same.
Okay.
I mean, just because you grew up differently doesn't mean that you don't breathe the same way or put your pants on the same way I do. You do it the same way. It's just that you might have some cultural differences, yes.
And you might have some advantages, yes. But that doesn't mean that you're better than anyone else. And I think that's the main issue, is that they place more value on people who they feel like, well, they're not going to cause any problems, probably aka the people in the suburbs versus the people in inner cities. It's just, be honest, they look at us completely different.
Right. Well, and I was just talking, I don't know if it was last night, day before, but I was just, I didn't think about this before, but I started thinking about it. I said, wait a minute. So it is a big difference, especially, I was using Milwaukee for an example. When you go into certain areas in Milwaukee, now they are, police are present. Mm-hmm. And then when you go into other areas where there's a little bit more poverty and not as much, people can just do what the hell they want to do.
Yeah, I've pointed that out many of times when we go to Milwaukee.
And, I didn't think about it until now. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. you go into certain communities, now it's heavily policed,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to protect the money, so to speak.
Right.
And then you go to other communities, and then people just running wild. And,
I mean, I don't know, because I feel like it's kind of like that double-edged sword, because like in Milwaukee, it's the wild, wild west over there. They don't give a shit. So it's kind of like if you have police officers that's trying to do their job, you have people that just don't give a shit about you trying to do your job. Like you trying to pull somebody over, they're not going to stop. They're just going to keep going until they either crash into somebody, or I don't even know. Like, how do you police something like that when you just got a bunch of people that don't give a shit?
Well, yeah, but it starts with education first.
Right.
We can't help it that, if you want to give people the least amount of education, but you expect the best results from that, then it's a lose-lose battle for you. The reason why you think that the suburbs does better is because they have all the tools.
Right.
They
were designed to win.
Yeah, they were designed to win. They just, I never had no financial classes in school. I never had no life courses at school. And, you look at some of the stuff they got out here and just like, I never had that at school. My school never even thought of having that. And so it's a big difference because it is more designed for you to have better life skills. And then when you look at the inner city, barely anybody's making it to the graduation because they probably think, why even bother? Most of these kids are looking up to the wrong people. And so it just kind of perpetuates a ongoing problem that I don't know that, this pointing out one thing and saying, okay, the police don't know how to handle us, or saying, hey, we need to, imprison all the people that's doing that. It's something that has to be rebuilt from the ground up. And I think this is kind of how we can segue into some of the things that we can do to make it better.
Okay.
Because I was just, was thinking about this for a long, long time about creating some type of program or place for we could be able to give back to, like for a lot of the professionals that made it out of these communities, they can go back and this is going to be something that's done all over the world or all over the United States, because it doesn't matter what city you go to, if it's any type of diversity, it's always the same. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you can just twirl a Rolodex around with cities and then just pick one, and as long as there's diversity there, it's going to be the same results. So, but we have to have something that's going to be an educational piece to these people that just they're underserved in a sense, because if they have the same knowledge and ability to access a lot of this information as these folks out here, then it'd be drastically different.
Correct.
So I think that it starts there. We just have, as a society, we have to stop putting so much value on things that is not that important. Trying to start a war with some country that ain't got nothing to do with us and spending trillions of dollars on that, but yet we got the inner city suffering, and they trying to cut expenses. This don't even make any sense. How could they cut expenses in an area where it's already been cut so much?
Right.
It just mind-boggling to me.
So what would your solution be to helping the inner cities get more of an advantage so they can, prosper in life a little bit more?
My first thing is, it definitely starts with the education piece. I think that we have to be taught some financial literacy. Then we have to be taught some life skills. I think that some of the things that's kind of running rampant right now is mental health issues.
Yeah, I was just thinking that therapy needs to be more readily available I feel like for everybody, but more for people in the inner cities. I feel like it's not something that, mental illness is talked about a lot in the Black community. And even if they do talk about it, it's like, it's not easily accessible because, once again, nobody probably wants to go to the inner city and do therapy there. But I also feel like there needs to be programs, or somebody needs to be doing stuff that these kids have access to, and not necessarily through health insurance, because do they even have health insurance half the time? And making sure that if they're getting these kind of people, they're getting quality people, because there's a difference. You can get like a lawyer Or you can get like what are those people? A public defender who like they're not getting paid anything, so they don't give a shit whether you win or lose. They're just there doing their job.
Public defender actually works for the people that's fighting against you.
Right, but I'm saying they need to have people that actually care about what they're doing, because it's one thing to just put therapists in those communities, but it's enough, and they need to have people that look like them. Let's just be honest. I think that's another reason why Black people don't do therapy. And even I've gone to therapy, and I've always told you that I wanted to go back, but the therapists that I was seeing, they weren't Black, and I just couldn't relate to them. Like, I didn't want to talk about my life to you. You don't even understand where I'm coming from.
Right.
So I feel like that's also important too. If you're going to do things, do it at a level that people are going to want to actually participate in it. Don't just like, well, we put a therapist there, but it's like an 80-year-old white woman. Like, she doesn't relate to them. They're not going to feel comfortable with
that. She doesn't share the same life experience.
Right. So, like, do it on a level of somebody that's going to actually care, go in there and try to make a difference in these communities.
Mm-hmm. And I think that what you ultimately are saying is something that's kind of an issue, not only in America, but around the country and around the world, is a humanity problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people it's either a colorism issue, where if you're light, you're treated a certain way. If you're dark, you're treated a certain way. Or is it classism, where if it's the have and the have-nots,
right.
You know, and so that's pretty much been an ongoing issue since the dawn of time. And obviously, you know, we should understand that no matter how much money you have or how little money you have, people always should be treated the same way.
And you should still have access to the same stuff.
Yep.
Because I don't feel like, well, clearly, if I'm not a millionaire, I can't afford to have the best therapist in the world. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, the millionaire and my therapist should be the exact same, but I should still at least get a quality therapist or somebody that cares about what I'm doing in my life, or like quality schools or quality education. All of that stuff should all be the same.
Everything should be universal, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, you know, obviously once we start building those foundations with obviously the education piece, teaching people financial literacy, you know, teaching people life management skills, then we can start working on the mental health aspect of a lot of these communities, because a lot of these communities have a lot of ongoing underlying issues that never got addressed.
Yeah.
And I know once we can start nailing those things down, then we can start taking the right steps forward and start building those communities up, so they won't be looked at as animals and all this other jazz that they think that, you know, and
give them hope to something, you know. And maybe if they did all of those things, people wouldn't leave the communities that they were raised in, because I feel like when people make money, they leave where they came from. They're taking that resources and the money, like I said earlier, and they go somewhere else and they benefit that area and that community. And we need people that are like, you know what, I made it, but I'm still going to stay here. I'm going to try to help. Or even if you wanted to move, just because, let's just say you just wanted to move, but you still didn't forget where you came from, and you still poured into where those communities that need more help than the ones that you're in. Because baby girl don't need no help. They got enough help. No, it's not hurting over there.
No, but I think that also what you're saying too is that when you look at these communities, you also got to look at the leadership. And so obviously, you know, when we talked about the drugs and all that stuff in previous podcasts, and how it played a role in sabotaging a lot of these areas, and still to this day, and you start looking at those communities and they don't have any leadership there.
Right.
And so without the leadership, then all the foolery continues to keep going, because it's like the blind leading the blind. There's nobody there to pave a better way for these folks. And you got, obviously, you know, a lot of the people that just don't get it, and, you know, maybe just because their lifestyle is like that, they don't want to change and they don't see any change. And then you got the people that actually care about life and actually want to make a difference in this world. And so it just more people that is not giving a damn than it is. And so we have to kind of change that fortune of creating more people that give a damn, so we can actually get to the point where, you know, those areas are seen as, you know, it shouldn't be a drop off from going from the suburbs to the inner city, and the inner city to the suburbs. It should be the same amount of living no matter where you are.
Right.
And so also I was going to mention too, you know, obviously as time goes on, the demographics are going to change. And so obviously the people, us as minorities, including like other like Hispanic and Asian, are going to be the majority. And so that's something that things are going to look drastically different at some point, because it's not going to be a Caucasian based neighborhood anymore. It's going to be a diverse based neighborhood, which now poses that question. Like all of the neighborhoods from when you be in the inner cities to when you get to the suburbs all look the same, because they all are diverse. They all got different cultures there.
Which would be a beautiful thing, because
Right.
I am all about diversity. I hate to look out the window and see a bunch of the same.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it goes both ways too, because that was the problem. One of the ongoing problems of what I struggle with in the inner city is, you don't see very many white people
In your city.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
It's like, as in St. Paul, there's hella white people.
No, I'm not talking about St. Paul. I'm talking about being in Milwaukee. It was never diverse there. It's like it was so segregated. It wasn't even funny. And I didn't realize that until I left, and I was like, wow, it was, it is an ongoing problem there. It's too segregated.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll think that, everybody's keeping to themselves is a good idea, but no, sometimes you need to have that diversity. You might think, well, if it's all black, it's okay.
No, because we can all learn from each other.
Right.
I think it's a beautiful thing that when you can live with somebody that's different than you and has different cultures, views, but you can still live in harmony, because you can learn something from somebody. No person, you can always learn from somebody, whether you think so or not. Every person you meet, there's something that you can learn from them, and it doesn't matter what color they are. But I feel like if it's too much of one thing, you're not going to learn that much, because everybody probably thinks just like you think.
Yep.
And if you're in the other way, like just like in the suburbs, like I feel like the suburbs need to be shaken up. They need some cultural out in those places, because they all think that that's just how life is, and they think, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, because this is my reality. Like probably all this stuff that's been going on recently, they're probably like, what the hell are they talking about? Again, because you see it from your whitewashed world. So I absolutely feel like both would benefit from each other.
Yeah, of course, and I think that once people start, once that flip switch is
Switch is flipped.
Oh yeah, the switch is flipped. Sorry, that when people start realizing that everybody's a human being first, and we start realizing that these guys are in this position because of this systemic. I'm sorry to pronounce that word. Systemic racism and
systemic.
And the poverty, all that stuff is all the same. We can do better.
And I wish they would stop associating inner cities with just poor black people, because it's poor white people, it's poor Asian people, it's poor Hispanic people. Typically, it's just I don't even think of it as poor necessarily. Some of the areas are more poor than others, but obviously I feel like most people look at the inner city as like it's just it's a bunch of poor black people who live there, which is just not the case, because I feel like you go in a lot of these inner cities now, I feel like I see more other cultures or colors besides black people. Like you gotta look for them now. Like where are they at? Is this St. Paul still?
But for our people, I think we're gonna have to start waking up and realizing that we're causing ourselves a lot more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these kids are definitely misguided, and so it just in order for people to respect you, they have to see that you are worthy of being respected. And a lot of these kids are just it's going to be kind of interesting what's going to happen in the next 10 to 15 years with the kids that's growing up now, because a lot of these kids they don't have any respect for authority. They don't have no respect for their parents or adults. They don't have respect for a lot of things, and so that's just kind of like a recipe for a disaster. A lot of this stuff, especially with these young kids getting caught up into the drugs and the guns and the killing and all that stuff, it's sad. Like these kids are 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, 16 years old, and they killing somebody and getting life in prison, and it's just like, wow, can you imagine at 16 years old, you're going to spend 50 or 40 or 30 years behind bars, more years than you've been living?
Well, I mean, you know how I feel about that.
Well, yeah, man, we talked about that, and obviously we can't get the person back, and it's obviously saddening for the families that had those type of events that happen to them, and then obviously I'm not going to take away from that, but I'm saying, I mean, but you got to think about that is one mistake that this kid makes. He's about to spend a long time behind bars. He's not even going to be the same person in the next 5 years. If he's a 16-year-old little boy or a 16-year-old young man, I should say, if he come, at 25, he's already a whole. No, he's a man now. At 35, he's a
grown ass man.
a grown man now. And so obviously 45, 55, he's definitely matured quite a bit. And so it's a lot of things that we have to change. And I think that for us as Black people, that we have to realize that the system is not really built for us.
No.
And so when we know that about the system and we still keep getting caught in the system, it's like like when it's a pothole that's like basically tearing up your whole front end of your car if you go over it, and we just keep running it over. At some point, you got to realize that it's all a trap. It's like it's designed to get you there.
Right, but that's because, like we already said, it wasn't designed for us to win. Like, I guess is what you're saying in a sense, but like. So what would you say would be a solution to helping these people in the inner cities start to win?
Yeah, I think that we need to change who we idolizing. The people that we're looking up to is causing some of these issues, because a lot of our heroes are rappers. And I don't have anything, if you're a rapper out there, I don't have anything against what you're doing, but it's the things that you're saying is probably the things that is causing a lot of confusion. And I know we can probably talk about this in another podcast, but a lot of these kids are thinking that these rappers live like this. And if they're telling, hey, we got all this money and we got all the women and all this other stuff, and you got these little kids out here trying to emulate that, and now they don't realize that these people can just be talking on the record. I mean, they don't have to. They don't have to live like this at all because they're rich. Why would they? Why would they have guns and stuff like that? They go get the guns.
You'd be surprised they do, though.
Well,
you'd be hearing about these rappers getting pulled over and caught up with guns on them, and they get arrested. And
that's because they're not that bright. They was those kids that we were talking about.
Right.
And so, but as you get older, you're not gonna see no Jay-Z getting caught with guns and drugs anymore. You're not gonna see Eminem getting caught with drugs and guns. And so, at some point you realize that this is all music. If you're making good music and everybody enjoys it and it has a good message to it, then you good. But if your music is very destructive and it doesn't really, it makes you feel some type of way when you listen to it, then that's a problem. And I think we have a lot of music out there that is guiding these kids, unfortunately, into an area where they shouldn't be. So I think, obviously we have to change that role model situation. I think we also got to be better role models too. I think me and you, we also talked about this a lot, that, I think we need to start showing examples of how, or people that have made it, people that have gotten out of these communities. And for those that have gotten out of the communities, I think that when you see, as a person that's still living there, you see a person that made it out, then it's somebody who's done it.
Right.
Because I think, with that being said, obviously rappers and basketball players are those examples, because if you look at TV, you see nothing but, basketball players in the NBA that's predominantly Black played. And so you got, go figure, you got everybody trying to play basketball to get out of these communities.
Right.
Or try to rap. How many guys have a studio set up in their house?
Dear God.
That's why I said that. So but those are only two career paths that we think that is.
Or drug dealers.
Or drug dealers, which is not
a career, by the way.
Not displayed on TV. I think
it is. We don't watch TV, so.
Well, I'm saying not in that light. You don't really see too many. Or if any, very small percentage of successful drug dealers that made it out.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not looking up drug dealers, so.
Well, I'm just saying, you just don't. The odds of your success rate is probably less than 0%.
Okay.
And if you do make it out, then good for you. But if you think that selling drugs is going to last forever, it's just that's not a lofty career.
No. So then, since you just said that you and I, what do you feel that you personally, Cedric Harris, can do to give back or contribute to the inner cities more?
Well, I just mentioned it because we need to have or start some Big Brother programs. I think I talked about this in the beginning of the podcast about something I wanted to do.
I don't think you kind of. I think you mentioned it, but
yeah, I'm not have to go into depth details with
Okay.
it, but something that I can do not only for me, but I can also, shed light on others that has made it out too. You know, and for people to see that it's okay to think outside and do something different. Not everybody's going to be a lawyer, not everybody's going to be a doctor. I get that stuff.
No.
But not everybody's going to be a basketball player or a rapper or a drug dealer either.
That's very true.
So,
you got to find a good happy median in there somewhere.
Right, but you got to do with things that you like to do, and if you're very creative, maybe you might have to focus on creativity.
Mm-hmm.
If you, you always have a passion for helping people or being in systems like hospitals and stuff. Maybe that's your passion, but we just need to show more people in that rate. But it also the TV also has to do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have to show more Black families in a better light than just showing us, always getting, I obviously, Black Lives Matter is out there and all the other stuff is out there. But it's never really, it's always something that's not really painting a good situation.
Right. It's tied to some tragedy.
It's tied to some tragedy that happened. And it's not really, when you hear that, you don't think of, warm and fuzziness. You think of, wow, something that's crazy
happened. Yeah. I feel like for me, I've always told you, I would like to do some kind of thing with the Black women. Because I feel like, we're the most, I've always said that, or I've told you, or quoted it, we're the most disrespected person on the planet. And I would just like for us to get to a point where we don't feel like the only thing that we have to offer is our body in some kind of way, whether it's us shaking our ass for Instagram or for a man to get a man's attention. But I just want us to get to a point where we see the value in us.
Right. And I think that's a big thing that you just said. That's probably more key than a good percentage of it. Because I do feel like the Black women have to, I think they have to have a lot more pride about who they are.
Not even pride. I feel like it's not even pride. I feel like we have to have more class. We need to get back to being ladies. I feel like we're not ladies.
Pride too.
I guess in a sense, but it's more than but I'm saying
because
there's lots of women who probably are very prideful, shaking their ass on Instagram, but that's not.
No, that's
let
not.
me finish saying what I'm saying. I feel like we need to get back to just being classy women. There's nothing wrong with leaving a little bit to the imagination. Sometimes I feel like that's more sexier sometimes than you just putting that shit all out there for everybody to see. And I'm not saying, and I don't want to sound like I'm some kind of prude, but live your, because I feel like live your life, do you? You only got one life to live. But I feel like we just got so much more to offer. And I feel like Black women just don't realize it because they feel like, well, this is my best asset. That's typically what people want from me anyways, is my body. And I think we just need to get back to the Claire Huxtables. I love her. Michelle Obama's and Beyonce. I love her. And I know some people are going to say, well, Beyonce can do no wrong in my eyes. So I want to hear nothing about what she shakes her ass in her body, blah, 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 blah. But it don't matter. She's Beyonce.
I think that the problem is that it is too much of it. So for instance, when you got too many women that looks that way, then it's going to they're going to judge all women that way. So, if you see
Black women,
I'm saying
not white women, because it's amazing how we all get clumped into one category where everybody else has the grace of just being an individual who just so happens to be white, Asian, Hispanic, or whatever.
Right. Well, I'm not sure how I can't speak to nothing because I don't watch them like that. But what I would say is this. For Black women, and especially in these communities, because for us as Black men, we think that getting out of these communities is selling drugs, rapping, and playing basketball. Mm-hmm. Okay, but then
for us, it's dating y'all.
No, for women, for the Black women,
that's what I'm saying. It's trying to be with y'all.
Yeah, trying to be with us,
and showing our bodies off to get yours attention, so that way you see my value as me shaking my ass for you, or me.
And so I feel like that for women, and it's.
And I just want to clarify. I don't want to say all Black women because I feel like somebody's going to take it the wrong way, saying, "Well, I know I've got my own." I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the ones that they typically show on TV or whoever the case might be. You go on your Instagram, and I guarantee you're going to see ass and titties, and it's usually attached to
I think that
a black person.
the problem that we have is that we kind of sell out for money. And what I mean by that is, like, when you watch like these TV shows, whether it's love or hip hop or whatever,
Love and hip hop, Basketball Wives,
it just perpetuates the existing problem that we can't handle relationships,
or that we're just not classy, because we're always in those TV shows, we're throwing drinks at people. They don't know how to articulate what they're trying to say without yelling and screaming.
Right.
Right. They don't show us in a positive light. They don't show any TV shows that called Love and Friendship. Like, where I've got my shit together and I'm a flourishing black woman who's happy in my life. They don't want to see that. They're like, that sounds boring. Like, why would I want to watch you go to brunch with your friends and y'all all happy and married with your kids? Like, they don't show shit like that.
Well, that stuff is not going to make the ratings. Yeah. But I think that we just kind of, just like I said before, those shows, you got to remember, we're watching those shows. It ain't white people watching Love and Hip Hop. It ain't white people watching, what other shows out there.
Basketball Wives. Those are the two that I can think of. I don't really watch
Housewives of Atlanta or whatever the other shows are. I don't really watch
TV, but you see the clips of it like on Instagram and stuff like that. But
yeah, but I'm saying, like, if you think about like who's watching it, these young girls are watching it. Mm-hmm. They're looking at this as like, oh man, I can get into a situation like this, and now this is what I want to do. I just think that it's more. I think for us as black people, is more than entertainment in this world. Mm-hmm. We can do a lot more.
But even if you wanted to be entertainment, be the change that we need to see. Like, it needs to be a balance act. Like, it's so much on the other end of like, well, she's an entertainer because she shakes her ass on Instagram all day, or she's known for yelling at people or being argumentative. Like, let's show some black women, because I feel like representation does matter. So it needs to be seen on the bigger screen. Like, you can't say, like, even if people won't watch it, it needs to still be seen, so that way people can see that we don't live like, we're not all like this.
Right. But then, just going back to our topic of growing up in the inner city, I think that it kind of, what we being displayed on TV and what these kids are seeing, and they're growing up and they want to be like these folks, and I think that, just like I said before, Michelle Obama's, and I give Beyonce her roses too.
Mm-hmm. You was going to, okay? It's Beyonce.
I just don't think.
You forgot my Claire Huxtable.
Claire
I love
Huxtable,
her.
Yeah.
That's who I.
They don't get enough. They don't get enough credit because they're not exposing themselves in that way. And not everything should be exposed. And I'm not saying that you never should go outside and feel good and confident about what you have and what you wear.
But it shouldn't be every picture that I look at.
Yeah, it shouldn't be every single picture.
It's ass and titties and ass, and it's just it. Like, because you do have more to offer to yourself, but you'd be mad now if somebody came up to you and was like, I want to see ass and titties. Like, what? Like, that's all you show, so that's what I wanted to see.
That's always the crazy part about it is somebody say, oh man, look at you with that big old ass. So why are you talking to me that way? But then when you come outside and you look at that way all the time, and I'm like, well, I mean, what do you want to say?
Granted, we should be allowed to wear what the hell you want to wear without you whatever. That's a whole nother topic.
I mean, nobody's saying that you can't wear it. I think the problem is that it's just too much of it.
Yes, there's a time and a place. Because I absolutely feel like if I'm on vacation, I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm on vacation with you, we're somewhere sexy, I'm going to have my ass and titties out. Because I feel like we summer hot, the Bahamas. It's a booty out kind of place. But it's not everywhere. And I'm for damn sure not going to be documenting it and having it on like Instagram. It's just going to be, if you see me there, you saw my ass and titties out. But you're not going to ever know, because I'm not going to be like, put this shit on Snapchat, let everybody see my ass and titties. You're not going to even know I did it, because it's not even going to be, I'm not going to be showing it to the world.
And I think what you're saying is also key too, because, people got to realize that they have a life outside of the social media stuff too. So I mean, it's
like, we're realtors. Don't nobody want to be seeing their realtor shaking their ass, and although I wouldn't care, because I don't judge people that way. I feel like, live your life, and if I saw my doctor on vacation living his best life, I wouldn't even care. I'd be like, listen, he worked hard to go on this vacation, so he's out here wilding out a bit. That's what he's supposed to do.
But I also think that obviously the way that you used to look at role models is kind of changed now, because we used to look at these guys as the guys that made no mistakes. They crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. I mean, people know that that's just not realistic.
Right.
Now.
I just think, like we said, it's just a time and a place. Like, I just feel like, leave a little mystery, ladies. That's all I'm saying.
So, but giving back and showing these inner city kids and even some of the adults, we can't even put it past that, maybe the mother to these kids or the father to these kids also are struggling and they don't have any direction or they don't have any of the same things that we're talking about. And obviously the kids are getting it passed down. So I do think that, in order for our society to get better, and for us to be able to turn the corner as humanity, that we do have to have a powwow session about what's going on in these cities, and being able to make the change that's necessary. Because, if everybody's making it, then the economy is that much more stronger.
Yeah.
Versus, the only ones you deem worthy make it. So, we got some issues, but it's things that can be corrected. But it's something that's been going on for centuries, and it's going to take some time, but we can change one person at a time. So I'm hoping that the people that's listening to this realize that, we have a lot of passion for, obviously, seeing our people succeed, because it makes everybody feels well. And
I love to see Black people succeed. I'm rooting for all Black people to win. I hope we all win. Yeah. I really do.
And I think that, when for those that are winning and for those who think that they're winning or they, trying to win or whatever the case is, you got to realize that comes with responsibility. A lot of people don't realize that, when you get this, now everybody's looking at you. And so now your job is to make sure that, you carry yourself in the correct way. I'm not saying that you can never have a good time, because obviously, people are going to want to have a good time in their lives and they're not just living like robots. But it's not a good time to get yourself into a leadership position and now you're shaking your butt and you're doing all this like on every single picture on Instagram. You gotta have some mystery to yourself. Show some other things. Show
yourself reading a book.
Yeah, show yourself doing something different. Now, you sneak one a booty shot in there every now and then.
It's okay. If you got a nice ass and it's just, sometimes you want to show it, that's fine. But not every damn video needs to be. We didn't know what your ass looked like. We've seen that. We're tired of looking at that.
And it just kind of make you, look like there's nothing else to you.
Right.
And I know that, for us as, especially the Black women, I know it's more to them. But if every picture is titties and ass, and it's kind of get to the, and even for me as a male, nobody's going to say they don't want to see it. But at some point, you're like, you know what?
Do you have anything else to offer?
Yeah, it's like, who is this woman? Who is she? Does she have a personality? Does she like to go on walks or go to the park or go to the mall? We don't know nothing else.
Right.
But we do know she liked to be in her bedroom, and we do know that she got her favorite place where she liked to shake her ass and take these pictures all the time.
Right.
So, but obviously we just put a bow on this one. Obviously we got our work cut out for folks that's listening to this. As far as the inner city stuff goes, I'm definitely product of inner city and very proud of it. Definitely understand the struggles. I've been there. I was seeing it firsthand, and I know that we want to make real change. We got to start with us. So we got to take this one day at a time. And hopefully y'all guys enjoyed this podcast. And with that being said,
if we forgot any topics or points that we,
No, right.
I was saying, if you guys listening feel like we forgot to mention some things or we weren't accurate, whatever the case might be, just let us know. We always
leave in the comments.
We always like criticism, I guess, and what's the other word of not criticism, but I don't know. Whatever, just let us know.
With that being said,
peace, love, and hair grease.
Today we got some time. I'm nice of you to join. Listen to my thoughts, true facts you'll find.